It's May of 1980, and a procession of motorcycles pulls out in Fort Lauderdale as the Outlaws bury one of their own. The funeral is for Henry Amos, better known as Funky Tim. He was stabbed to death in Rayford Prison, where he was serving a life sentence for the triple murder of 3 Hells Angels. To hear the police tell it, the Outlaws are true to their name. According to the Sheriff's Department, of the 125 members of the Broward chapter between 1975 and 79, outlaw members were convicted in 6 murder cases, 4 larcenies, 5 narcotics violations, 7 stolen property trials, and in 5 prostitution cases. There was a total of 56 felony convictions against the members. Lieutenant Carl Carruthers of the Broward Sheriff's Department has been assigned to outlaw cases for the last 13 years. He has several file cabinets full of information on the activities of the gang. There is so much material that sheriff's clerks are now attempting to organize the file by putting it on a computer. Carruthers claims that the outlaws are heavily involved in prostitution, weapons violations, and narcotics. He's lobbying for an FBI racketeering probe of the Broward chapter.
They've been involved in a lot of murders. As I told you, in 1974 they were involved in well over a dozen murders here just in Broward County alone. And I think we've put together facts and figures that can show over 100 murders just in the state of Florida. Prostitution is one of the mainstays of money. It's a main source of money. The girls are the workers. They put the girls to work.
The charges against Clarence Smitty Smith for this weekend's quadruple murders have put the outlaws back in the limelight and undoubtedly under increased police surveillance. To hear the sheriff's investigators tell it, over the years, the pressure on the outlaws has cut their membership from a high of 125 several years ago to around a present roster of 24 members.
Guns. Every time I go to the clubhouse, I walk out of there with a stash of guns. I mean, all types of guns. And I don't mean Saturday night specials. We know that they have access to machine guns. We've found the ammunition. We've talked to a lot of informants that have handled the weapons. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to come up with the automatic weapons. We know they have them.
We went to the Outlaw Clubhouse to get their side of the story, but our camera crew was ordered off the property. Off camera, an outlaw who identified himself as the Greaser said that they're being harassed by the police and that many of the crimes attributed to them weren't committed by outlaw members but by people who police believe belong to the gang. Police officials here aren't optimistic about ending motorcycle gang violence. They say that even if the outlaws are driven out of Broward County, another gang will simply spring up to take its place. In Fort Lauderdale, Jim Reynolds, Channel 10 Eyewitness News.
Everybody is now beginning to pack up and leave. This raid began at about 6 o'clock this evening with agents from the Broward Sheriff's Office and the Florida Highway Patrol leading about 6 law enforcement agencies. They had been told that they could expect to find some stolen vehicles and some stolen weapons here. What they say they found, according to lead investigators, is more than 38 possibly stolen motorcycles, more than 30 weapons, everything from swords to pistols to shotguns. Behind this headquarters, what's behind me right now is the headquarters of the Outlaws gang, are about 175 of them. We were told just a moment ago that no arrests have been made, nor will any be made. A representative of the Florida Highway Patrol told me instead they are going to sift over the evidence they have seized here this evening and then possibly make some arrests. In South Broward County, I'm Maury Alter, Newswatch 10.
Furniture's off. That's really gross.
I have never seen the guy doing the drug, but I heard a lot of things, like, hey, the way this thing went down, it seems like a drug deal. Like, why would I get in my car and drive from Opelika just to come and kiss my girlfriend and say goodbye? I mean, anybody wouldn't do that. They come here for money, for a personal reason, from Miami to here. They got to have a personal reason to use all that gas and drive down here.
Reputed outlaw motorcycle gang member Clarence Smitty Smith is on trial for the murders of 3 men and a woman. They were shot to death in the middle of the night on February 5th in a duplex in Fort Lauderdale. The lone survivor in the shooting is Penny Reed, the fiancée of one of the victims. She claimed that she feared for her life and didn't want her picture printed or broadcast. Over the objections of attorneys for Channel 10 and the Miami Herald, Judge Harry Hinckley ruled that she was not to be photographed. According to reports, the shooting stemmed from an argument among the bikers. Another man is being sought in connection with the murders. Audio recordings were allowed during Reed's testimony, and this is her account of the incident.
Steve didn't really know what was going on. He said, "Don't shoot." About that time, Smitty shot him. And then he turned towards me, and I said, "Please don't shoot me. I won't say anything." And he shot me in my hand, and I went down, and he left the room. He says, "They're dead in the bedroom, kill them all."
The murder weapons haven't been found, and there's very little physical evidence. So this case really boils down to the witnesses' accounts of the incident. The prosecution is expected to finish up tomorrow, and then it will be up to the defense to tell its side of the story. In Broward Circuit Court, Jim Reynolds, Channel 10 Eyewitness News.
Deputies and FBI agents surrounded the clubhouse with its traditional skull and crossed motorcycle pistons, warning unwanted visitors to stay away. There was no problem arresting the sole member in the house. Police say Dennis Delaney is the vice president of the South Florida chapter of the Outlaws. Though there were no problems, they'd taken every precaution just in case.
You have individuals in the Outlaws that would hesitate not 1 second to kill you.
Detective Faulkner has worked 3 years to connect gang members to more than a dozen murders in South Florida that had almost no witnesses outside the gang. One of the victims, an off-duty Dania police officer killed in 1977. Another, Naomi Senegal, who spent time with the gang. They allegedly just got tired of her.
A white female was taken on a boat owned by a member of the Outlaws, taken out into the ocean, shot in the head. She was then gutted or cut open and a steel cable placed through her body. She was drugged behind the boat until she disintegrated.
Deputies say the gang, which had its heyday in the 70s, was in the process of rebuilding its dwindling membership and filling the coffers through selling illegal drugs. Deputies believe today's arrest will not only close the books on what had for years been called unsolvable murders, they say it should deliver a crippling blow to the gang. In Hollywood, Luann Kahn, News 4.
Hi, Plumber. Where's Mr. Plumber at? How you doing this morning, Mr. Plumber? So you've been brought here this morning.
Who is this, please?
Where's his paperwork? Right on top.
Who's this, please?
Mrs. Smith, how you doing this morning?
Is there any indication that these shootings may produce a gang war between the outlaws?
I don't think so. According to our investigation so far, it appears that it was a problem within their own organization.
And what was the nature of that problem?
At this time, it's still under investigation, and prefer not to comment at this time. We are in contact with ATF, and they have supplied us with some information.
keep an eye open.
You know, but every time you move the car.
This was comprised of the outlaws themselves.
Around 75%.
Did they drive away business?
Well, no, not until they all started moving up here.
Why didn't the people come around? Were they scared of them?
I imagine so.
What do you know about Christine Deese, the girl who was alleged to be hung by the hands on a tree?
I don't know too much about it, but I know it happened.
Had she been treated this way before, or similarly?
No, she just got knocked around a bit, and she seemed to like it.
About the charge by the members themselves of police harassment?
Well, as I told you, John, as far as we're concerned, it's our duty to enforce the laws in the Palm Beach County. We intend to do so as long as this group is continuing to disobey the law, or they're going to be harassed, if it's what they like to call it.
Do you expect any nationwide reprisal by the larger group? There are outlaw clubs all throughout the nation. Do you expect any reprisal?
I wouldn't anticipate any reprisals, John. They've made idle threats before. As you know, many of them were in my office here to make complaints. A veiled threat was passed at that time that if we were having trouble with 50 of them, what would we do with 1,000 of them? I told them we'd do exactly the same thing we're doing now. We'd enforce the laws of the state of Florida. They not only are troublemakers, but they are vicious too, as indicated by the nailing of this girl to a tree last Friday night.
Are there other incidents of such vicious display of temper?
Well, we've had 3 complainants who have been beaten by a minimum of 8 to 10 members of this gang, stomped primarily and kicked with the toes of their shoes to the point of very serious injuries to these individuals. And several of these men we now have under indictment for the beating of the man and the woman. In the last case, the victim, unfortunately, was struck from behind initially and thrown to the ground in such a way that he was not able to see any of the faces. We're hoping in connection with this investigation that, and the developments that are coming about now, that we are going to be able to identify some of the men who did beat him and charge them with aggravated assault. We went after these 3 fellows that are inside here. We had good information when we left here that they were apparently holed up in Chicago, Illinois. This information was good enough to convince us that we should make this trip. We went to Chicago. We had the assistance of the Cook County Sheriff's Department. We made 4 raids there. We did not come up with the people we wanted, but we did find information that led us to New Albany, Indiana, and then to Detroit, where we did bag these 3 men in a raid last night.
Did you request protective custody from the Hollywood police?
Because I'm afraid that the one boy that's outside might try to hurt me again.
Have you had any threats before you were picked up or anything like that? Or did they tell you they'd beat you if you went to the police?
It's common knowledge that if you go to the police, you better watch out. But I just wasn't going to sit there and take it.
How about your boyfriend who is in jail now? When he gets out, will you go back with him and become an outlaw girl?
Yes, I will. If he wants me back, I'll be there the day he gets out of jail, and then he can decide what he wants to do with me.
You think this is a good thing for girls, to run around with motorcycle gangs, to make money for the men while they don't usually work?
I wouldn't recommend it for anybody, but I'm stupid enough to do it.
Why were you beaten by the two members of the outlaw gang?
Because I withheld some money from them.
Is this, to your knowledge, common practice to give money to the outlaw members?
Yes, it is.
In your mind, to be an outlaw girl, what are your duties? What are you supposed to do?
There's nothing, just be with him. This is the life that I want to do. I love motorcycles. I like the guy, and I just want to go with him.
And you love this man enough that if he would beat you for the same thing, you'd still stay with him?
Yes, I would.
Is that normal to you? I mean, were you brought up that way?
No, it makes me mad that I do like him so much. But I love him, and I want to stay with him.
Well, I, of course, would like to follow a course of action to run these people out of the county. My view is that they're bums, to put it very plainly. They engage in tactics of terrorism against law-abiding citizens. I think they have no place in Broward County, and we will pursue them by every legal method to ensure that they leave the county. We have, as a result of the arrest we made Friday night, I feel a good case against at least 8 or 9 of the people we arrested for aggravated assault and perhaps false imprisonment involving a young girl. The case arose out of activity that took place on the nights of December 23rd and 24th. Well, the landlord is literally in terror of these people. They have threatened him with bodily harm, and he's afraid to do anything about them. Of course, this is one of the things about these people that I particularly deplore, is the fact that their forte is brutality and the threat of brutality, which they use against merchants. They use this as a technique to ensnare young girls, particularly this young lady who I mentioned previously. She fell into their hands more or less innocently, but the way they keep her and other girls under control is by the threat of force and the actual use of force. I think that the average person must come to the police authorities. These people are truly dangerous. I would not advise any private citizen to try to take them on himself. This certainly has to be an appropriate function of a law enforcement agency. I certainly will dedicate myself to the proposition that we will run these bums out of Broward County.
Sheriff Stack isn't the only law enforcement official keeping a close eye on the outlaws. The state attorney's office has launched an investigation of its own. On top of this, the Broward County Health Department and City of Hollywood code enforcement officials say the camp is a health hazard. anything else in the can?
Oh, good.
What? The same motorcycle I've been riding for quite a few years. I know.